University has recently launched a bold and ambitious strategic plan that will guide Villanova through the next 10 years. In just a few weeks, we will embark on a 30-city tour that will introduce this plan to the alumni around the world, beginning in mid-November in Dublin and then London. Today, we are very pleased to have with us our university president, Father Peter Donahue, along with Ann Diebold, Vice President of University Communications, and Steve Merritt, Dean of Enrollment Management, who will give us a perspective on the plan and its anticipated impact on the university.
Thank you, Bob. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and yesterday. It's a wonderful experience for all of us here at the university. And it gives us an opportunity to share with you what is happening here and how we continue to live out our Augustinian Catholic identity here, and how we continue to move forward the university into new areas. The strategic plan was actually formulated over the last year, 2 years now, and was approved by the board in December. So as Bob said, there's going to be this 30-city tour. I didn't think it was that many. But it will begin in November and end in June, I believe, is when it will end. So we'll be doing a little traveling, several of us around the country and across the seas. Today, Father Mickey said, oh, I was in my monk outfit. Mike refers to this as my Augustinian getup. So today is an interesting day on campus. So if you're walking around, this is actually the beginning of fall break. And so the campus will get quieter and quieter as the afternoon goes on. But today we have a commissioning ceremony for our several hundred students that will go out over the course of the week and do service trips here in the United States, as well as many other places, Latin America, Central America. And so there is a big blessing that will happen later this afternoon. So it keeps me from having to change clothes all day long. But the strategic plan itself is a very comprehensive plan, but it's also a very simple plan. You heard the deans and Father Ellis talk about exactly what the academic program is going to be and how much is being accomplished right now within that academic program. There are 5 imperatives in the plan, and the 5 imperatives deal with different aspects of the university. We are right at a stage right now that this has been set by the Board of Trustees, and it is going to, we are now asking all of the colleges, divisions, departments within the university to start creating their plans to line up with these 5 imperatives. They deal with the undergraduate academic program, with the admissions policies, enrollment in the university, the graduate and faculty support here at the university, gaining new faculty, increasing our prominence in terms of master's programs and doctoral programs. The fourth one is our value proposition, branding the university, telling the Villanova story, and the 5th one deals with our endowment and our facilities. So all of those 5 areas have very specific guidelines, and in your folders you have this book that was very nicely done by our communications department as to how this plan will unfold. Each area of the university is looking at how they will support this in one way or another. So there may not be, you may look at this and say, well, where's this, or where's that, or why isn't this mentioned, or why isn't that mentioned? This is the overriding strategic plan. And within each of those areas, we will then pull out more things in terms of what each college is doing, what the schools are doing, what departments are doing, the athletic department, down to dining services, to every area of the university will now begin to support this plan in one way or another. So that's where we are right now, at that stage of having people bring priorities to this plan and what we can do, and quite honestly, what we can afford to do as we move forward with it. The first one, in terms of the academic program, I think the deans and Father Ellis gave you a very good overview of what's happening here. One important thing about the academic program is that we are moving, and I think you heard them all speak about it, of moving across the borders of the campus and really becoming much more interdisciplinary. Also developing programs that kind of are creating centers of excellence around the university and creating areas that we can kind of join together as faculty, as students, and in research projects, in globalization, in sustainability, in healthcare, all of those kinds of things. So using the resources of the university to really build those centers of excellence. The deans have worked out a very comprehensive plan in terms of where we are going to move academically in the next several years. All of it will take time. It will be in increments. There will be necessary funding for these kinds of things. But you've got a very good glimpse, I think, earlier this morning exactly of what they're doing and what they have already accomplished in terms of creating that academic program. Above and beyond all else, we are an educational institution, and that's really where our focus needs to be. You know, how we are educating young men and women to move into the world, and what they need to do what they need to learn, and what they need to know about themselves and others in order to accomplish those things in the world. So primarily, we are an academic institution, and everything else must support that academic endeavor. So as we move forward as a university, everyone will come in line in terms of how do we continue to educate our students, both in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. Most of their time here on campus is outside of class. They have a lot of free time on their hands, and how we develop programs to help support that education, because it's a continuing learning process for all of them. So the first imperative is about our academic excellence. The second one is about our admissions, how we are using new techniques, new ideas, what we're going to do in terms of incorporating more people into the admissions program, and really answering the needs of those high caliber students. Right now, Villanova, you heard earlier today, the SAT scores and the GPA scores and where they're ranked in class, and none of us would ever get in here again, and all of those kinds of things. I don't know if that's true or not, but you know, it's a different world. There's a lot more preparation now given to high school students in SAT exams, a lot more. I can remember when I did it, it was get your number 2 pencil and go take it. You know, there was no, oh, this is the way to take the test. So there is a lot more energy put into by families, by students in high school to perform well on those SAT and ACT tests. Both of them measure different things. We have students that apply to Villanova that score very high in those exams, that do very well in high school, and a lot of what we come in contact with is that their financial need. And how do we continue to balance that financial need in terms of the diversity of the university? It's very important to all of us here that we be a diversified community. And when we talk about diversity, we're talking about the notion of multi-levels or multi-layers of diversity. It is not just racial diversity, it is economic diversity, it is geographical diversity, it is international diversity. There's a multitude of things when we talk about diversity now. And how do we attract students to really make this campus and make this university a microcosm of the world in which they're going to live in? So if we get to a point in terms of the tuition and how much it costs to go here now, and what it costs to go to private school, if we just continue to raise those prices without offering financial need to students, we will find ourselves to be a high-powered country club of very well-to-do students. And we cannot let that happen. So the second imperative is really looking at how do we attract those students and answer their financial needs, and also keep in balance our own needs in terms of the university. The university is 85% right now in terms of our budget dependent on tuition. So it's important for us to really look at how do we build that endowment, how do we give financial aid, and the commitment we're making to students across the board of coming to the school. Steve is the expert in all of this, and I'm going to let him talk about what that imperative is entailing.
Thank you, Father. And let me say that it's a personal pleasure and a great honor to be amongst my fellow alumni and students of this university. I think Father has given you a great overview. Let me just put a kind of a laser focus on the 3 things that are ahead of us in enrollment over the next decade. We are absolutely committed to raising the intellectual capacity of our students here. As Father says now, we have an applicant pool that is populated with some of the finest and most talented young people in America. We are, through a number of different things, particularly the increase in personalized type services. We're going to double the number of those young people who say yes to us when we admit them to the university over the next decade. So those high-achieving students that are already here at Villanova, over the course of the next few years, there will be more of them, and as a result, they'll be able to really interact in the kind of environment that you saw just previous to us that the deans are creating as we speak. I think the second point that's important, and Father alluded to it as well, is we want to make Villanova a place that is affordable and accessible to as broad a group of people as we possibly can. And the university, under Father's leadership, has already begun this process of adding substantial amounts to our financial aid. Just to give you some perspective, we spend about $50 million a year of the university's operating funds to support our students' education. Over the last 3 years, we've added $4 million additional dollars to that. We'll add $1 million this year. We'll add $1 million next year. It is our full intent to make Villanova a place that people from all walks of life can participate and enjoy. I think the third point, too, is very important, and Father again alluded to this in terms of our diversity. The great richness of our university is that we bring people from all walks of life and from all places on earth here to study. If you think about the great thing that goes on at Villanova, it really happens in our classrooms. And when you bring a group of people together who have different perspectives, they come from different walks of life, and you put them in an environment where they can learn and that learning brings understanding, that's really what the magic of a Villanova experience can be. So we are absolutely committed to, as Father mentioned, in the next few years, to make sure that we increase our diversity in terms of our ethnic and racial diversity, in terms of our geographic diversity, in terms of the diversity of personal experiences. You probably, just looking around campus today, wouldn't notice, but 13% of our students here at Villanova never had anybody in their family ever go to college. And that's a unique population that brings a great richness to a discussion in a classroom or in a dormitory or in another environment. And we want to continue to move that forward. So again, to kind of put a fine point on it, we are going to raise the intellectual capacity of our students. We're going to make sure that those students are supported through financial assistance. And we're going to make sure that those students who come to us represent what happens in the real world from all walks of life. And we're excited about the possibilities of it. Thank you, Father.
The third imperative deals with graduate programs. Excuse me. And that question was asked to the deans earlier. We are not planning on increasing graduate programs, adding more graduate programs that we already have, nor are we looking at creating more PhD programs, at least at this time. We made a decision in terms of the strategic plan. We had two ways we could have gone with this. There was a lot of talk in the beginning of it of really taking the university and pushing it into a national ranking or a national classification. Right now we are ranked as a master's comprehensive institution, regional. And it was to make that move to kind of bring ourselves up and kind of compete with the big kids on the block, you know, the Notre Dames, the Georgetowns, the BCs, those kinds of Wake Forest, those kinds of schools that were nationally classified schools. The classification system is extremely complicated. I'm not going to bore you with trying to explain it, but we are not a nationally research-based institution. For us to do that, for us to make that move, would have meant for us going into more PhD programs, because a lot of it depends on how many PhD students you are graduating a year. Law students do not count in the head count. So it was, even though we have this wonderful law school, graduating, 250, 275 lawyers a year, they don't count as part of that classification system. So we would have had to add more PhD programs, or we would have had to increase the number of PhD students we had at the university in order to hit the target, which was 20 PhD candidates graduated a year. And so that was a big stretch for us. So we have decided not to move in that direction, at least not at this time, but to continue to improve our graduate programs and to continue to improve the PhD programs that we already have in existence. And we have three: nursing, engineering, and philosophy. So those programs will continue to be supported. We're hoping to increase them a bit, and we're hoping to really add more pizzazz to our graduate programs without adding a whole lot. PhD programs require full-time faculty attention. It pulls faculty away from undergraduate teaching. It asks them to do more research. Research has to be funded, and grants and all of those kinds of things. Facilities would have to change in terms of research-oriented projects. And we just were not ready as an institution to do that right now. So that's where we are with graduate programs. In terms of the faculty is beginning to change, and faculty numbers are beginning to change. And also competition for faculty is greatly changed. Right now, the baby boomers, of which I am one, are beginning to retire. I am not one of them, but they are beginning to retire. And it is, as they move on, you now have to find people to take their places. There aren't as many people to draw from coming out of institutions with PhDs. And we really want a qualified faculty that is demanding a PhD nowadays. In higher education, it really just is expected that that's what you would do. The competition for those people coming out is very fierce because every school wants the best faculty. We want a faculty that are eager to teach, because we really expect our full-time faculty to teach in the undergraduate level and be committed to teaching, but also be committed to their scholarship and research and to service to the institution as well. So what we're looking for are people that are really dedicated to the mission of the university and are passionate about teaching and are passionate about research and scholarship. And they're tough to find. You know, there are certainly there are people out there that really want to do research and are really interested in doing research. PhDs that have, brilliant people and want to be in the labs, be in their offices writing and doing all kinds of things. And then there are other people that, well, I like teaching. We want both. And so when we're looking at that, it becomes a problem for us in terms of attracting people to do that kind of thing. There's also been a big change in terms of if you're really asking faculty to research and do scholarship work, there has to be a change in their academic loads. And so academic loads are beginning to change throughout universities. There are places that have a teaching load of 2-2, 2-1. That means 2 classes one semester and 1 class the next semester. That's all they teach. And the rest of it is doing research work, or they have graduate assistants helping them in one way or another. That becomes an issue when somebody, if you're coming out with a PhD in mechanical engineering and you're told, well, Villanova, we're going to ask you to teach 2-2. I'm not going to get into contact hours. Gary can explain that. But, and somebody else, Lehigh, right up the street is saying to them, you can teach 2-1. And we're saying, oh, no, but you really want to teach 2-2. And they're going, I'll take the 2-1. All right, so that would be really nice for me, because then I can do what I want to do. So how we continue to attract faculty and bring them into the university is going to be a priority for us. The qualified, inspiring mentors that our students need. The fourth area is dealing with our value proposition, or branding, as we've come to call it recently. And how do we tell the Villanova story? All of you have been affected in some way by the Villanova story. You're here because of it. You were inspired in some way when you were a student here. Your friends are Villanovans. You keep in touch with people. There is something very unique about this place. And for many, many years, Villanova has been a place that has really fostered community and living in that Augustinian charism of creating community. I don't think there's a student that goes through this institution that doesn't hear that word at least 10 times a day. We talk about it all the time. And it is something that we really have experienced. It becomes part of us. We eat, sleep, and breathe community, and we talk about it a lot. I've told some people last week we had a very unfortunate situation here on campus, and it kind of shakes the core of the university. We had a student that was killed in a car accident, and the passenger in the car is presently down at Penn, University of Penn Hospital, in very bad shape still, and very touch and go, still very critical. For our students, it was a moment of kind of just freezing in place. Last Wednesday, the campus was so quiet. People walking to class, even though they might not have known these 2 young men, they were touched by it in some way or another. We had a prayer vigil on Wednesday night at the church that was mobbed. I've never seen so many people in that church. They were on the floor, standing in the back. out the door, on the steps, down the walkway. And when it all came to a conclusion and the concluding song was sung and I walked out and nobody moved, they all just sat there and waited, actually, for these young men's friends to walk out first, in just supporting them in this whole ordeal. That's the kind of thing we try to create around here. And how do we tell that story? And Anne is going to tell you how we're going to do it.
Well, when we began the original strategic planning process, we conducted rigorous marketing research about Villanova and asked some very tough questions about how we're perceived outside of Villanova. And we learned that our national brand awareness lags that of our competitors, that our value proposition needs to be better defined and more clearly communicated, and for high-achieving prospective students, really the way they defined it and how they understood us was primarily religious, really only religious, whereas other aspirational peers, they had such definers as challenging, academic, friendly, in addition to being religious. And so really when you come to the heart of Imperative 4, it's to define and better communicate Villanova's distinctive identity in order to continue building our reputation. As Father said, I mean, it's a special place, and all of us here know that feeling. How do we talk about that feeling, and how do we communicate it in a way people outside of Villanova can understand it? And so to do this, our first step was to look internally. And so last winter, we embarked on a university-wide branding initiative. And I think oftentimes people think of branding as a glitzy exercise, and you're going to end up with a tagline or a new logo or something like that. But for us, it was really important to use this process as a way for self-discovery of our own community. And this branding process is going to allow us to really dig deep, which we are, and focus our messaging on articulating our points of differentiation, clarifying our value proposition, and really creating, as we said, the core messaging to better describe what is distinctive about Villanova and to really tell our story, including how do we effectively communicate the Augustinian Catholic identity in a way that people outside of Villanova can understand. And we knew from the outset that in order for this to be successful, it was crucial that we engage the entire Villanova community, students, faculty, staff, parents, and of course alumni. And since beginning this whole branding process, we have heard from over 3,000 members of the Villanova community, and in addition, our team has met with more than 300 people to get that sense, and exactly from our own people, what is special, what is unique about Villanova. And it's not enough to just talk to ourselves internally. We had to also look externally. And so in order to gain perspectives that way, we spoke with constituents outside, such as employers, recruiters, grantors, guidance counselors. We've also conducted numerous focus groups with prospective parents and their students. And we did this in both Philadelphia and Chicago areas. So all this engagement and research that we had really led us to the one idea that spoke most powerfully about the Villanova experience. And this internal statement, and for those of you that are in marketing, you'll know it as our brand platform, really will, now that we've got that, will inform all our work moving forward. Certainly, ad campaigns are going to come and go, and that's not necessarily the most important piece of this. It's really how do we talk about ourselves. And this brand platform gets to the core of who we are as a community. So now that we have the brand platform, we're beginning another phase of testing and refinement. In this next step, we have some test ads, and all based on the brand platform, in order to really hone the look and feel and our messaging that we want to communicate about Villanova. In fact, all of you will be receiving our next university-wide survey probably in mid-October or so. And I really encourage you all to take the time and look at the different concepts, check the messaging out, see what you think of taglines. How does it hit you? We really want your thoughts on how we're moving forward. Concurrently, we'll be fielding an online survey to a group of prospective students and their parents, and that will be a national survey. So all of the testing and refinement, the back and forth, connecting with all our people, was really to assure that what we're saying is true, meaningful, and inspirational across all our stakeholder groups. It's one thing if we internally all like what we're saying, but we need to make sure it really connects with those folks outside of Villanova and all our core audiences. We need to make sure people get who we are and what is special. And then in February, we will begin to communicate our messaging and visual executions, first and foremost with the faculty, student, staff, and of course with you all, the alumni. And as we did that, as Father said, I can't emphasize enough the importance of this group and all the alumni. Engagement has been so important to us throughout this entire process. Because in order for this to be successful, we need to make sure that the Villanova story is not only embraced, but delivered by the entire Villanova community. It is just essential that we take all our ambassadors and allow people to get out and really tell the story. When we were doing some of these focus groups, we really found out what, these young people and their parents, who did they listen to? And they all say they don't listen to their parents, but they do. They listen to their parents, they listen to their teachers, they listen to their friends, they listen to the people who influence them. Of course, we need clear messaging, we want good materials, but you all do make a huge difference. And then once we have the Villanova group aligned and empowered with the messaging, we will then begin to move forward with the remainder of Imperative 4. And that includes marketing efforts to really reach out and tell the Villanova story to external audiences, such as certainly prospective students and their parents, peer institutions, graduate programs, and employers. We're also going to work to spread the Villanova story to an ever-expanding geographical areas. And really, I think you all will understand that, want that to be beyond the Northeast region, which we are well known in. We're not as well known other places. We will continue pursuing aggressive marketing and media outreach, and that's to increase our awareness. And we'll do that through the traditional online and new media strategies. So that we'll be able to gauge where we are, make sure we're successful. We will be developing very solid metrics to make sure we know which direction we're going in. So the end game to all this is clarifying our message and better telling the Villanova story will really strengthen and enhance all aspects of the strategic plans, all the imperatives. And we know a powerful, well-communicated message about Villanova will do that. We know it will help attract great faculty, which will continue to enhance our academic reputation, will attract a great and talented and diverse student body. We know we're going to support the faculty scholarship that Father was talking about by highlighting the impressive achievements, and we'll especially be able to communicate our Augustinian mission more clearly and concisely. And hopefully we will engage and excite current and prospective donors so that they will be here to really support the university. And so as we move forward, we certainly want all of you to be energized by the Villanova story and really excited to share it. And we hope that all our work really does make you more proud of being a Villanovan and really want to share that with people outside of the university. And so on to Imperative 5. Which is how we're going to do that, right?
We're going to do it. I need you. I need your checks. But no, that's basically what the message of Imperative 5 is. It is, all of this costs money. All of this will will need funding in one way or another, and as we continue to roll this plan out, how we continue to support the institution. Endowment is very important to us. Our endowment is not at the level that a lot of institutions that we compete with is it right now. Ken, 3 something? About 320 million is what our endowment is right now. We compete with schools that are twice that amount, 3 times that amount. And so they are able to use that funding in a very different way than we are. So how do we build up that endowment is going to be very important. And how do we continue to attract alumni giving on a regular basis, annual giving, how we attract friends, corporations, all of those kinds of things to help us complete this strategic plan and to move Villanova forward. We will be going into a new campaign. Part of this whole idea is that we will eventually, within the next couple of years, we're going to kind of roll out this campaign. We're working on it right now. The campaign, the goal right now of the campaign, we haven't really determined exactly. We're still working on a lot of it, but we're looking at a $500 million campaign that will be divided up in various ways in terms of endowment and facilities and all kinds of things, athletics, and how we continue to do those kinds of things. So that is a very important part and a very important component of the strategic plan. Mike O'Neill has increased the level of staffing right now in our development office, on our advancement office. It has been a priority for us to bring in more people, and we have some very talented new people that have come aboard in Villanova, and we are giving them the Kool-Aid to drink and washing away other institutions like St. Joe's from their minds. So we're continuing to move along in that direction, and we need to continue to build that up. Along with the endowment is our facilities. How do we continue to increase or improve the facilities that we have here? We have several needs in terms of the facilities. We have a major need in housing right now. We have a number of freshmen. We guarantee 3 years of housing right now. So freshmen, juniors, and seniors can live on campus. We don't necessarily guarantee what kind of place they'll live in, but we guarantee that we'll give them a place to live. And so that is, it's put a real crunch on us in terms of the amount of sophomores and juniors that have chosen to stay on campus. That when the freshmen are coming in, this has been a larger class than normal. And so we have almost half the freshman class that are in triples. And those are rooms that were really created for 2 people. There's 3 people living in. It's putting a strain on the buildings themselves because of the fact that they weren't really built to accommodate that many people. And so we need to look at housing and how we continue to grow housing. Our facilities are in need. Our library is in need of renovation. Tollentine Hall is in need of renovation. It probably looks the same way as it did for some of you who were day hops. It looks exactly the same, in fact. So we have needs along that way. We're looking at several things, several options right now. We are crunched for land. There's a lot of people that surround us here, and we don't have a whole lot of ability to build. Probably the largest space of land right now that exists is the tract of land across Lancaster Avenue, across from the main campus, the parking lots, as well as those homes that are along Lancaster. We own all of that property, all the way down to the bank. And we actually own the building where the bank is, but we lease it out to Sovereign Bank. So we have that tract of land there. When the Augustinians first bought the Bel Air mansion, the Bel Air estate, back in 1842, they dubbed the place, they consecrated the house and the school and all to St. Thomas of Villanova. In the area itself, it was known as the Hamlet of Villanova. They referred to it as the Hamlet of Villanova. That's what gave the town its name. Many people think it was the university that was named after the town, but not so. I remind them of that all the time. So it was the fact that when it was referred to as, so we're kind of dubbing this thing as the Hamlet of Villanova. And it's going to create new housing, as well as some retail space for the university in terms of the bookstore, some things that are directed towards student life here, not to kind of increase the shopping in the area, but rather to improve the facilities or the amenities for our students. And then above it will be residential living, so apartment-style houses or single-room style housing. The cornerstone of it all, on the corner of Ithan Avenue and Lancaster Avenue, is going to be a lovely facility known as the Performing Arts Center. Hint, hint, hint. That's, pardon me? Oh, did it? Yeah, oh, that's right, the Asbury Center for the Performing Arts. I forgot. I'll have to remind them at the board meeting next week. But, and we will need to build a parking structure as well. We've been moving along with that, having some preliminary conversations with the township. The township is excited about it, the possibility, because it will bring the students out of their neighborhood and back onto the campus. That's what they're excited about. So it's opening that possibility to it. We do have a large tract of land over on the west campus where the present apartments are built, but we have a covenant with the neighbors until 2019 before we can do any more development of that property. So that will have to wait a little while, but there are plans. We created a campus master plan that goes out 30 years, actually, and how the university can continue to grow or continue to, not grow in number, we're not looking to increase our population, but to improve our facilities. So how do we continue to keep track of or keep pace with the educational needs of today? We're doing some work on kind of improving the landscaping of the campus. We're kind of moving right now through how we might do that or what might happen. It's an expensive proposition, a little more expensive than I think a lot of us thought initially, but it could change. It will have a dramatic effect on the campus, particularly in the center part of the campus where we're going to take cars out of the center part of the campus. And it will enable us to kind of refashion some of the walkways and things throughout the campus. So those are some of the, and all of that is in the working stage right now. And part of this grand 30-city tour, we hope to roll out some of how it might look, to kind of excite people about doing it. That is really the strategic plan. That is what it's kind of looking at, where we hope to develop. Everybody said, Gary and Bob were telling me that everybody today and yesterday has quoted General Zinni over and over again. He did a fantastic job yesterday in his talk, and I would be remiss if I didn't quote him, or didn't talk about it. He said something very interesting yesterday that I really, as I was sitting there watching him, behind him was the seal of the university, and if you take a look at the seal, he talked about the importance of the heart and the mind and faith in the education of people. The strategic plan, as you know, is dealing with heart, mind, and spirit, and how we can ignite and inspire and illuminate those three things. And in the center of our seal is the heart on a book with a cross. And it is what we do. It is what we do at Villanova. And it is what we must continue to do. And with the help of a lot of people, we hope that this strategic plan will be able to propel Villanova into a greater national reputation, as well as continue to enhance our educational